All right, let's dive right in. Today's show is going to be about Islam is false. And why is Islam false? Why is there a dilemma in Islam? And also to go over Islamophobia, I think it's a false term. It's a made up term by leftists who want to suppress people from critiquing the religion and dissecting it for what it is. So then if Sharia is in place, you can't you can't criticize Muhammad. You can't. So it's about Islam is not a religion. So why is it not a religion? It's more of an occultist type of form of suppression. Uh, and also, why Islam is false is to detract and deflect from truth. And it's in its narrative, Islamophobia more tells to what I just said, to detract, to deflect from the truth, for suppressing women's rights, marrying children, and things of this nature. And how is it contradicting itself if Islam is not a religion, and why? Well, we know in Jesus Christ the people have free will, the right to choose their own path. So you have a right to do this. You're not going to be subjugated, taxed, ridiculed, thrown in prison, make it hard for you to have a business in these Islamic societies. Also, the threat of death. Women have to be covered, their hair, and so forth and so on. And in Islam rules. They just rule on you. They rule on you with more of like a dictatorship type of enforcement of these laws on the people, henceforth Sharia. Now, guys, these are just notes I made out of my own head, and I always tell you guys, use your own critical thinking, do your studying, and then figure it out. I think it is in a form of a cult, with its because I think it's an occult, because it's like a form of governance. They're governing over you. Now, if you go to church, Christianity, you're not going to be forced ever. You're not going to be forced to follow Christ. You choose to do this on your own, and you're not going to be persecuted for this. Now, do churches, if you are a Christian, you know you should be modest and have all these other things that Islam proclaims that they have. But see, they're forcing this on women. They're making it the woman's fault if a man attacks her. Oh, he saw her hair, or she made eye contact with him. So it's never his fault. It's always hers. Now, in Christianity, okay, well, obviously we should never get ourselves in certain positions, but things do happen. I don't want to go off on a tantrum here, but in Christianity, if a woman becomes a Christian, she had already going to inherently want to be modest and want to please God. So she's not forced to. She's going to do this on her own. What else do I have here in my notes? I think I'm saying because if it's a form of governance, you're not Islamophobia, because how can you be this if you're against oppression and control? So how are you Islamophobia? So that's why I'm saying that this word it doesn't make sense. If you're against the doctrine, if you have questions, that should be legitimate reasoning and logical thinking, critical thinking, to come to your conclusions. If you've been studying and going over Islam doctrine, their hadiths, the Quran, and things of this nature. To not be, because you're against being oppressed and controlled, not to be ruled over by a dictator, to oppress of women, the oppression of women and young girls. Also, Islam rejects, and you, Christians, even some other faiths reject non-freedom. And we reject non-freedom of speech. We want freedom of speech, and we want freedom. So you have freedom to choose. And that's where my notes go on my thoughts on this. But we're going to start the show with a quote from Gad that he posted last night on X. So I had gotten a few clips from him in my X feed, but today I'm not even sure what I'm going to name this video, but I think Islam is false. Islamophobia is a false, made-up word for propaganda to suppress. To make you feel, it's almost like the left comes up with these terms, right? Obviously in the woke culture to get their agenda across. So this is to say, oh, because and a lot of that stuff's over because we're all tired of our speech being suppressed. So this, by saying that you're Islamophobia, that you can't say a word, it's to get you to be quiet. It's also the left is like, well, you need to call them by their pronouns, and you're like, what? And then, and then everybody just shuts up about it, right? So I think this is just another form to get you to be quiet against Islam. So there's my intro to that. And guys, I always say the learning never stops. I am learning. I've been reading all morning and trying to learn and digest a lot of this and using my own reasons of thinking and my own critical thinking of what's happening in the world and how has Islam impacted the world in other countries. And I think this is very, very, very important. And this is why Iran has been oppressed since the 70s, and then now they're finally being liberated. Although they have to have a whole change of guard, a whole change of government, because prior to Islam taking over and imposing Sharia law on Iran, they were a free society. And look what they have done to them. And of course, you see that the left is already out in full force. I'm going to do a second video today on a lot of that. But today is just going to be knowledge, research, and pretty much some people might think it's boring. I find it interesting. If you don't want to know, skip it or go to somebody else and find things or do your own research or whatever you need to do to educate yourself if you're interested, because this is affecting us all. This is affecting us all. So Gad said, writes, when you invite someone into your home, you can decide what the rules of conduct are. If you decide that the guests must take off their shoes, then it is incumbent on the guests to abide by your rules. Imagine that my religion says that I can come into your house, curse you, attack your family, and take over your home, and walk with muddy shoes across your home. Are you allowed to refuse me entry into your house? Or does that make you a mean and bigoted person? Well, does it? I love the analogies that he gives, and this is why I'm reading these. And this is the second one I found from him, and I just thought it was really, really good. And it's a great intro to what we're going to be discussing here momentarily. When I'm trying to lose weight, I can implement certain decisions that either increase my weight. Oh, happy mouse. Happy mouse. To either increase my weight. Let me read that again so we don't mess up. I don't know why it clicks and goes up like that. When I'm trying to lose weight, I can implement certain decisions that either increase my weight, keep my weight the same, or decrease my weight. For example, if I eat poorly all day and never exercise, I know that I'll put on weight. Now let us apply this to logic to Islam. Does Islam increase or decrease women's rights? Does Islam increase or decrease freedom of speech? Does Islam increase or decrease the rights of gays? Does Islam increase or decrease the rights of Jews? Does Islam allow for the criticism of Islam? Is Islam compatible with Western liberties and freedoms? If yes, then I should fully allow to flourish in the West. Then it should be allowed to flourish in the West. If not, then it should not be allowed to set roots in the West. Individual Muslims come in all forms. Some are the loveliest people. Some are not so lovely. Some applies to any group of people. But the tenets of Islam could be objectively evaluated to see whether they are consistent or contradictory with other foundational values. If they are inconsistent, then you cannot allow freedom of religion to serve as the Achilles heel of our existence. Freedom of religion cannot be the mechanism, if I can even talk, that results in our annihilation. Amendments exist for a reason. Wow. He just gives the best analogies. Why is it important to know the Islamic dilemma? What's happening in the Middle East? What's happening in Iran? Why is there a problem? Because the people are oppressed. Because of the so-called religion is oppress them. You can look at the continent of Africa. What has happened to these people? What is happening in the United States? Why we need to reject Islam, and it's already gained a foothold, and we need to put a stop to it. And I know Trump knows this, and how they're going to combat it is going to be very, very interesting. Now, we did a clip yesterday in yesterday's show of Steve Miller coming out and saying they're putting forth that schools will not get any funding. They have to redo their teaching. They're going to teach to be patriotic. They're going to teach to love your country. How could you be citizens and hate your country? It's been nothing but indoctrination over the past couple of decades. We have a generation of people who don't know diddly squat about nothing. They don't know history. They don't know none of this stuff.
Who did the colonists fight in the Revolutionary War?
Oh, God. In the Revolutionary War?
It was, I don't know if this is right. I mean, it sounds so stupid. Was it the Spanish? Wait, what are your majors?
Business. Biology.
Okay. Elementary education.
What?
Oh. What?
She majored in elementary education, and this is where you should be teaching this stuff. The Revolutionary War, you don't know?
Shape is the U.S. Pentagon building.
Isn't it just a square?
How many U.S. senators are there?
6, 7. 6, 7.
2 for each state. How many amendments are in the Bill of Rights?
There's a lot. I know 17.
Who won the Civil War?
Oh, shoot, it's East or West, right?
Well, it's the Civil War, so it's the civilians versus whoever was in power.
How many justices are on the Supreme Court?
Justices. So like when you say that, like you mean like the FBI?
Who is on the $100 bill?
Oh, I know that.
Abraham Lincoln?
Nope.
Abraham Lincoln.
Come on, bro.
That's the First Amendment. What's the second?
Right to vote?
Name 3 states that border Canada. We'll just do one per person.
Asia.
I didn't know Canada had a border.
I didn't know.
Who did the call?
I didn't know Canada had a border. All right, you know what time it is, Scooby Gang. Come on. Let's go check out the comment section for clues. We are going to get to the Islamic dilemma. I've got a whole paper on it. Here in 1979, I created the Department of Education. Since then, America went from 1st to 24th in education. Come on, Scooby Gang. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Here we go. We got the Leering Center. Learning is fun. I learned too, and I learned the hard way. Oh, man. Oh, man. What does she say? She says, what do you expect? We have allowed a communist to brainwash and brain dead our kids. Wake up, America. And this is Randy Willengarden, born December 18, 1957, is an American communist leader, attorney, and educator. She is president of the American Foundation of Teachers and a member of the AFL-CIO. She is the former president of the United Federation of Communists. How did she ever get in charge of any form of education? American Federation of Teachers, and then you see our problem. Come on, Scooby Gang. Scooby Gang, there's still more. The Department of Education, created by Democrats in 1979, simplifies funneling taxes to far-left voter blocs and Democrat loyalist. Education is barely iterative and a marketing deception. Money for Kids pays better than Democrat slush funds and kickbacks. And here's her. She's saying everybody gets a slush fund. So all this time we kept throwing money at it. Oh, well, we need the schools need to be better. We need to pay teachers more money. And then they just kept, it was just a slush fund. So what did they end up doing? They said, well, we're going to use this money we got all these think tanks, and we're going to continue to dump down the education, and we're going to make sure they hate America because they can't hate you enough. Okay, Scooby Gang, we are still looking for clues. One of the reasons for this is no more encyclopedias. Back in the 80s, as kids, we would sit reading encyclopedias and atlases which provided random knowledge about everything. Now it's iPods and memes. Even YouTube doesn't provide the blanket general knowledge those old books did. It's amazing. Okay, Scooby Gang, we got the clues and we got the answers to the questions. If you didn't know all the answers to the questions, and I will admit, there was one or two I didn't know. I knew how many justices there was. I knew about the Civil War. I wasn't sure about the Bill of Rights Amendment. And I wasn't sure how many senators we had. I knew it had to be over 100, but apparently it's just 100. So here we go. The Loyal Patriot here are the correct answers, Scooby Gang. Let's go. So, one of the questions was, who did the colonists fight during the Revolutionary War? They didn't know. I thought everybody should know that. Great Britain? What shape is the U.S. Pentagon? The answer was in the question. A Pentagon prism. How many U.S. senators are there? There's 100. How many amendments are in the Bill of Rights? It's 10. Who won the Civil War? The North, the Union soldiers, led by Ulysses S. Grant and President Lincoln. And that guy didn't even know who won the Civil War. This is horrible. And one of those girls said she studied to be a teacher. How many justices are there on the Supreme Court? Well, we know there's 9. Who's on the $100 bill? Benjamin Franklin. What is the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution? It's right to keep and bear arms. 3 states that border Canada. There are many: Alaska, Washington, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Isn't that amazing? Well, if you need a book to read, How to Live with Retarded People. Oh, man. Hey, Scooby Gang. The comment section is always entertaining and to help find clues. This is interesting. This person says, no, it's what colleges and universities have done. It's hard to imagine so many people lacking fundamental knowledge of where they live. Informed decisions are impossible if you do not know the history of an issue. Well, this is why Steve Miller come out and said the Trump administration is going to withhold federal funds, that they've got to redo the curriculum. They have got to start teaching people the history, the correct history, and teach people to be patriotic. Now, once you start teaching them the history, you will naturally get chills if you see what these men and brave women did during the Revolutionary War. And we defeated the most powerful nation on the planet and won our independence. It just gives you chills. It makes your heart warm. And we are where we are today. So, yeah, we have to get back to teaching history. And I disagree. It's not just the colleges. Because if they were taught properly from kindergarten up, by the time they got to college, they'd recognize the BS from these colleges. But guess what? The Board of Education, this is my opinion, prepared them to be in retarded colleges, to teach them propaganda. I mean, all they've been teaching them now is social issues. How are you going to go through life learning about, because you learned about social issues? I can't even talk. I mean, because it's so, to try to frame it in words of, okay, so you spent time teaching about the diversity and about wokeness, and you're not teaching them math, you're not teaching them science, you're not teaching them about history. And if you are, you're teaching them the wrong history. You're telling them that we are just on conquered land. Where did they get this idea? Matt Walsh has a series out. I know he did one video. I don't know if he's continued it, and I think it was last week or week and a half or so, on the real history of America. And I encourage you to go check out Matt Walsh's History on America. Just go to his YouTube channel and you will find it. This next one, I guess it's already been on the screen if you guys have already been reading it while I was yapping. How in the heck do kids make it to college without knowing things that they should have learned in elementary and middle school? They don't know basic information, but I bet they can recite the 57 functional genders, critical race theory, and 10 reasons to hate America. That's exactly what I was just talking about. He said it a lot better than I did. I think they prepared him for it. This is like evil genius Lex Luthor, evil minds that did this. So we would have a whole society of stupid people who would be, let's just say, ignorant, because you could be ignorant and not be stupid. You're just ignorant of a certain subject. I mean, I'm ignorant on a lot of science and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, that's beside the point. I think they prepared them, they dumbed them down to where they would have a society that they could just tell them anything and be accepting of all of this other kind of foolishness and stuff. And then also import a bunch of low IQ third world invaders to also replace us, which just continues to give them more votes. It just continues to give them more votes. This person says, it's sad to think that 20 years from now, people like this will be running the country. Unless they can go and re-educate themselves, if we can turn around and get the dialogue flowing and somehow turn it around, I don't know. I know with we did an article yesterday on Netflix and the tampons at the CEOs, the building that they're at out in LA. Because they're not what the fear was, and rightly so, is usually governments don't want one big corporation to rule one thing. It needs to be broke up to make it fair, to make it balanced, and that they don't gain a lot of control. So with Netflix wanting to gain more of these entities, Paramount, all of this other stuff, Warner Brothers, and all of this stuff. So the fear was they're going. My cat is over here fussing. The fear is that because of their propaganda, and it's already proven, Netflix's propaganda is all about woke. Probably 85% of their programming, if not 75, 85%, whatever. Is propaganda towards woke and DEI and things of this nature. And the government, and rightly so, Trump's administration is like, hey, I don't think you've changed, because they're saying, no, we're going to be fair and balanced, which is a bunch of hogwash. What is it? Okay, let me let her out. I forgot to crack the door so she could just come and go as she pleases. All right, this one's good, Scooby Gang. Dumb and compliant. American history and government no longer taught, replaced with social constructs, women's studies, trans ideology, and other useless information. Who knows how much damage really has been done? Generations of America. I don't know. Do you have any ideas? Let me know in the comments section. Scooby Gang, get on the case. Do you have any ideas of how we could? I know that the Trump administration, just what I just said, Steve Miller come out and said they're going to start implementing that. But what about the people who've already graduated who has these useless college degrees that are worthless? And either we could make it up to them and go, okay, well, you could go back to college and the college is not going to charge you because they did you a disservice teaching you what gender studies, the liberal arts, or whatever. DEI studies, whatever, right? There's probably a plethora of retardedness that these kids spent money on, and it's worthless. It's worthless, and now they're just in debt, right? They're just in debt and they can't get a job. I think we need to get back to giving trade schools, doing that and teaching them skills. I know young men love to work. I know my kid, he's 15, and he loves to do construction work. There's a guy that it's a close friend of our family's. He has a business. He does stuff like that. And last summer, my boy got to help him through the summer as like an apprentice. And he's looking forward to this summer of doing it again. I mean, he loved it. He got a tool belt for Christmas one year. He can wear his tool belt. He's got his tools. He takes his tools with him. He's got his work boots on. Man, he's excited to go, and he's just loves the knowledge and the learning. And I know a lot of young men all across America would just love to be working with their hands, actually building something with other men, learning from them, learning skills. Either it's construction, plumbing, electrical, building, working outside, just all kinds of things like this, working on a car. I mean, just all of this kind of stuff. Young men will just suck it up. I mean, just absorb it like a sponge. And the left has known this, so they've deterred it. And I will add this as well. I think they need to ban phones in schools, period. Not even on campus. Not even if you're in high school. Nope. No phones on campus whatsoever. Not even in your car. No phones on campus. We survived for, 2,000 years with no phone up until the last 25 years? How long has it been, guys, since 2000? 2000. Well, we did have those bulky ones in the 80s that nobody could afford, right? Those bulky. We did have cell phones, but there wasn't a whole lot of towers. It was limited service, and it costed a fortune. So when did we start getting it to where everybody could have it? Almost like your GPS. It was a military thing for forever. And then finally it became to the masses regular people could have it. So then there was a time period where everything shifted, where even a dishwasher could get a phone. Yeah, I walked into the kitchen. I was a manager at a hotel, and I came walking into the kitchen and to talk to the chef, and what do I see? And I didn't even have a phone at the time, a cell phone at the time. But we knew they were coming out, the Nokia. And the dishwasher had a phone. He had a cell phone. He had it like this, and he's washing dishes. I guess the chef didn't see him or whatever, tell him, what are you doing? You need to be working. Why are you on the phone? The dishwasher had a phone. And so then it just became, boom, everybody could have a phone. And then the trend, and then obviously we come out with smartphones and all this. And then here we have parents giving their kids a phone. At the moment they could crawl or put stuff in their hands, they just hand them the phone for the babysitter. So I don't know. That needs to be on a personal responsibility for your kids. But for school, no more computers, no more phones at school. When you're at school, you're to learn and be held accountable for learning. And I think either they can create devices that are just strictly for young people that just have nothing but educational things on it. And I know there are phones and apps that you can get for your young kids to where they can only call family members and they can't go to applications and things like that. So either they can, I know they can develop a phone that has nothing but educational stuff on it, apps specifically narrowed to them, that's approved by the Trump administration. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, because it's going to be conservative values. It's going to be learning. It's going to be learning about history. Yeah, we need good propaganda. And that can be done. And then the parents could feel safe for giving their kid, instead of giving their kid a phone with access to porn, people preying upon them, and all of this kind. So what'd you think of all that, Scooby Gang? All right. All right, let's go. Here we go. The term Islamic dilemma primarily refers to a logical argument used in Christian apologetics to challenge the validity of Islam based on apparent contradictions between the Quran and the Bible. It centers on the Quran's references to previous scriptures, the Torah and Gospel, and how they relate to Islamic teachings. The dilemma as posed by Christians' apologetics. According to this argument, the Quran affirms that the Torah revealed to Moses and the Gospel revealed to Jesus are divinely inspired, authoritative, and preserved by God. For example, guys, please pay attention and use your critical thinking and knowledge, and then go research this stuff on your own. For example, verses like Quran, I guess that's chapter 3, verses 3 through 4, and 5, 46, 47, and 10, 94, describe these scriptures as guidance from God and instruct Muhammad to consult them if in doubt. So apparently the Quran is telling Muhammad he needs to consult these if he's in doubt. However, the Quran also contradicts core Christian doctrines found in the Bible, such as the divinity of Jesus. Quran 5, I guess you would say, what, 11:6, or is that 116? So I'm not sure how to read the Quran's verses, if there's any distinction between them. I'm not sure about that. Denies, okay, so the Quran 5:116 denies the Trinity, the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus. Quran 4:157 claims he was not crucified, and other theological points. So here we go. This creates a tremella for Muslims, and I think I wrote down the trimema. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a situation in which a different choice has to be made between three alternatives, especially when these are equally undesirable. I had to look up what that word meant. Yeah, the learning never stops, ladies and gentlemen. So, let's see, creates the trilemma for Muslims, which is 3 points, which is, it's hard for them to grasp, basically. If the current Bible, including the New Testament Gospels, is the authentic, preserved Word of God that the Quran affirms, then Islam is false, because the Quran's teachings directly contradict it on key issues like Jesus' nature and death. If the Bible has been corrupted, as many Muslims claim, citing Quran 275, 378, and 513 about alterations by Jews and Christians, then the Quran is false for endorsing and affirming a corrupted and unreliable text as divine guidance. Now, I would say that, let's see, because they're saying, because they've all been saying the claim is that the Bible and the Torah has been corrupted by man, by over time. But we have people who have looked at the Dead Sea Scrolls, all these inscriptions and things that they find, the tablets. The tablets weren't stricken down. So you got the tablets, you've got all of this plethora of historical writings. I mean, that confirms that the word has not been changed in the Bible at all. Now, like I told y'all on my yesterday's show, that I do watch a lot of debates. God Logic, David Wood, all of those guys. Y'all need to check out Modern Day Debate on YouTube. There's a plethora of debates that you can go watch. And a lot of them are on. I would suggest watch the ones on this Islamic problems or Christianity versus Islam and things of this nature. All of this kind of stuff, and get the Islamic's point of view, get the Muslims' point of view, because that's what I did. I'm watching it. I'm listening to what they're throwing out, and then what the apologetics are saying. But the thing is that they all have said in most of every debate I have watched that they had said that the books were corrupted. So in saying if the Bible has been corrupted, as many Muslims claim, citing Quran, and then there's the things about alterations by the Jews and the Christians, then the Quran is false for endorsing and affirming a corrupted or unreliable text as guidance. So these first two paragraphs, if the current Bible, including the New Testament gospel, is the authentic preserved word of God that the Quran affirms, then Islam is false because the teachings directly contradict it on key issues like Jesus' nature. And then your second paragraph, again, if the Bible has been corrupted, as many Muslims claim, and they do in all of these debates I watch, citing the Quran, and then they cite these passages about alterations by Jews and Christians, then the Quran is false for endorsing and affirming a corrupted or unreliable text as the divine guidance. Either way, the argument concludes the Quran cannot be true as it leads to self-contradictory positions. This is fascinating stuff, right? Proponents like, they got my guy David Wood, often frames it as a game changer for discussions with Muslims, emphasizing that Islam's foundation relies on the Quran's reliability, which this dilemma undermines. So basically is what they're saying is that the Quran has not been altered. The Quran's perfect. I was watching a debate with God Logic and Junior on God Logic's channel, by the way. It wasn't on Modern Day Debate, but you can find Junior on Modern Day Debate debating David Wood and other people. I think he debated Inspiring Prophet. But so what they're saying is it's a game changer for discussions with Muslims, emphasizing Islam's foundation relies on the Quran's reliability, which the dilemma undermines. Now, in all of these debates, they say the Quran has not been corrupted at all, but the Bible and the Torah are corrupted. So if the Quran hasn't been corrupted, now this is just me thinking, using my critical thinking or using my brain. So with them saying that, and I'm not using anybody else's words, guys. Hear me out. I'm using my own critical thinking skills, I guess, what little I have. So Muslims tell me, no, the Quran is perfect. It's not corrupt. It's perfect. But yet, if it hasn't been corrupted, it's telling the Jews and the Christians, you need to use your book. You need to refer to your book. And if you don't, if you only believe half of your book, half of the book, they call I guess they call it the Injil and the book, which means it's the Gospels. So if the Gospels are they're telling you, go to the Gospels, go to the Torah. If you don't believe all the Gospels, you only believe half, this is what the Quran's saying, then you're going to go to hell. You have to believe all of it. So if you're going to believe all of it, then again, you have to reject Islam. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Let's move on. Muslims respond in debunking. Let's see what they have to say. So, I mean, as far as I can tell, I've listened to them try to debunk it a lot of times on these debates, and they all say, no, the Quran's perfect. Well, if it's perfect, why is the Quran telling us to go to our own book? Now, if our own book, so their excuse is, well, your book has been corrupted. But historically, and they can fact check this historically through historians, the book has not changed. The Gospels have not changed at all. With all the writings through different, because they try to say, well, y'all went from Greek to whatever, and then English and this and this and that, that because it's been rewritten. Even though it's been rewritten, it's still the same. Basically, that's what it is. And y'all can go look up historians on the Bible. Has it been corrupted? Has anything been changed since all this hundreds of thousands of years? Hundreds of thousands. They found the Dead Sea Scrolls. They have all of this plethora of information. Again, I'll repeat it, that confirms that the writings haven't changed. So the Bible has not been corrupted, as the Muslims claim. See, this is the problem, that the Muslims have to come up with a reason why their book is contradicting itself. So this is what we're going to go over now. Muslims' responses and debunkings. Muslim scholars and apologetics counter that the dilemma is a false documentary based on misunderstanding. Good night, I got to get some water. All right. Where were we? Countered that the dilemma is false. Good night. Dichotomy based on, I keep losing my place over here on where I have to scroll. Dichotomy based on a misunderstanding or misrepresentation of Islamic theology. They argue that the Quran affirms the original revelations given to Moses and Jesus, and the true Torah and Injil, I think it's Injil, not the current Bible, which they view as a compilation that includes human alterations, additions, and corruptions over time. So I guess what they're saying is that the New Testament is corrupted. Now, I heard in the last couple of debates I've listened to with the apologetics debating Muslims, they keep really just hating on Paul. Like, big time, man. I mean, big time they've got a lot against Paul. They don't believe none of his writings. They don't believe that he saw Jesus. Like, I guess they think he just made it all up. I'm serious. The last couple of debates, which was just this past week that I watched these. Not the current Bible, which they view as a compilation that includes human alterations, additions, and corruptions over time, which they didn't get corrupted. We have complete... where none of their writings were corrupt, but they're thinking since it was man that wrote it, that they don't feel like the disciples were inspired by God to write this. I mean, John was sent to the island of Patmos, and he had visions and he wrote them down. The Quran's references to these scriptures are to their pure, uncorrupted forms as delivered by the prophets, and it explicitly warns of tampering by later scribes. Now, we also are not supposed to add to or take out of the Bible, of the Word of God. We are told not to do that. That was in Quran 5:13. Key points and rebuttals include: earlier Islamic sources than the Quran itself did not treat the existing Jews and Christians' scriptures as fully authoritative or identical to the original revelations. Instead, the Quran positions itself as a criteria, fatwa, to judge or correct previous texts where they have been distorted. The dilemma assumes a binary, either fully affirmed or fully rejected. But Islam teaches a nuanced view. Parts of the Bible may retain truth from the originals, while others are inauthentic. Now, this is interesting. Because in their Quran it says that the Christians and the Jews have their own books. And they have to, again, I'll repeat it, they have to believe it all, not half, or they'll go to hell. But Muslims are saying, well, your book is corrupted, so what do? Now you're just going to have to pick and choose which ones that are, this is what they're doing. They're saying the dilemma assumes a binary, either fully affirmed or fully rejected, but Islam teaches a nuanced view. Parts of the Bible may retain truth, while others are not authentic. What? Okay, so they think they're going to pick and choose which ones that they say are true and which ones that they are. So who's doing this? Who's deciding what's true? Again, I don't know if this is going to go on to tell us. I don't know if I don't remember. I've read so much this morning. If I fully read this one, but they claim, and Junior claimed in the debate I watched with him the other night. He says that they believe in Jesus, that they believe Jesus is coming back. So if they don't believe that the New Testament that has been corrupted, how can they believe Jesus is going to come back? I'm just asking questions here, right? These are thought-provoking. Okay, so you guys are saying this, but then are you pick and choosing what part of the New Testament you're going to believe and pick and choose what part of the writings about Jesus that you're going to accept and some parts you're not, just the ones that fit your agenda? I'm just asking questions here. Muslims are encouraged to believe in all prophets and revelations, but follow the Quran as the final and alternate message. So they believe that Muhammad was the final prophet. Historical context matters. For instance, the Gospel and the Quran refers to the singular revelation of Jesus, Injil, not the four canon Gospels written by later authors, which contain biography accounts rather than direct divine words. I think it's like both. I mean, if you have Mark, Luther, Mark, Luke, and John. All of these books in the New Testament, he's saying, well, he don't think that they were divinely inspired. I mean, Christians, I believe they were all divinely inspired while they were writing. Paul was divinely inspired. He was Saul, and he became Paul. But again, the Muslims reject Paul in all his writings. Critics like Dr. Ali Attar and others describe it as a missionary tactic that ignores Islamic exegesis, Tafsir. I don't even know how to say that. And oversimplifies his complex scriptured interactions. In a broader non-apologetic context, Islamic dilemma has sometimes been used to describe tensions between Islamic values and Western secularism, such as debates over integration, monetary and cultural clashes in societies like U.S., for example. Polls have shown a majority of Americans viewing Islamic values as incompatible with American ones, highlighting challenges for Muslims in balancing faith with modern life. However, this usage is less common and distinctive from the primary religious debate. We all know they cannot. It doesn't mesh because they want Sharia law. They want all of this all this stuff. Overall, the Islamic dilemma remains a point of contention and interface dialogues, which both sides simultaneously attaining that their views through scriptural analysis and historical evidence. Then it's asking me if I meant a difference in the dilemma, geopolitical and social. I'm going to try to skip through some of this as quickly as I can, but we have some Islamic rules. Islamic rules collectively known as Sharia, meaning the correct path. Let's see. Derived primarily from the Quran, Islam's holy book, and the Hadith. Sayings and actions of Prophet Muhammad. These are interpreted through scholarly senses in Jimma and Agali. I don't even know how to pronounce that. What is this? Quiet. Y'all are like, Dad, blame Rochelle. I couldn't look it up. To guide moral, ethical, and legal aspects of life. Sharia covers personal conduct, family matters, business, and societal, emphasizing justice, compassion. Let's see, I got to get in place. And submission to God. Interpretations vary between sects like Sunni and Shia, but core principles shared. Yeah, they can't even decide on nothing. But again, look what all it covers. Look what all of this stuff it covers. This is the difference between Christianity and Islam in my opening statements today on the show. is that with Christ, you have free will. You have free will to worship God, or you have free will to walk off a cliff. You have free will. You're not being forced to do anything. But with Sharia, with Islam, you are forced to do this. You are forced. Women are forced to cover. Young girls are forced to be married. Or they're allowed to, if poor parents have daughters, they're allowed to sell their daughter. Sell their daughter. These are some forms of theological foundations of Islam outlining what Muslims must believe. They are derived from the Quran and the Hadiths. Let's see, you got the Tawheed, oneness of God. Let's see, which is the description is belief in one God who is eternal, all-powerful, and without partners. This is the bedrock of Islam, rejecting polytheism and associating anything with God. Now, they say that we have 3 gods, but apparently they have like 99 names for Allah. Just saying. Just saying. But because we say the Trinity, because it's one God, but in one you get the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They really attack that in these debates. I encourage you all to watch these debates. Belief in angels. Angels are spiritual beings created by God to carry out his commands, such as Gabriel, who revealed the Quran, and the angel of death. Belief in divine books. God revealed scriptures to guide humanity, including the Torah, Psalms, Gospel, and the Quran. The final and alternate revelation. Unaltered revelation. So again, they're contradicting themselves because they say our books have been corrupted. So if our... Again, I guess I can't even... It's hard to argue with them because they'd say, well, it was corrupted later. So the whole New Testament is just garbage to them. Belief in prophets. God sent messengers like like Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, the final prophet, to convey his messages. Why did he send Adam? What? I know he walked with Adam and fellowshiped with Adam, and Adam, repented and was sorry for his sin, and I'm sure that he was teaching his children God. So, I don't know. I'm just asking questions here. Belief in the day of judgment, afterlife, all will be resurrected for accountability. Paradise for the righteous, hell for the wicked. Belief and predestination. God has knowledge of all things, but humans have free will and are responsible for their actions. Well, that's a big contradiction. Because if you had free will, then why would you make women cover themselves? Why would you not let them be educated beyond a certain grade? I'm asking questions here, guys. These things are just thoughts, right? So you're saying all humans have free will. You treat women like dogs. And you also say that women have half the brain capacity as a man. Half the capacity of a man. Y'all can go Google that. I mean, we can continue on, and this video is going to go forever. I mean, there's truth in that statement. If a donkey, a woman, or a dog passes in front of a man while he's praying, it apparently Allah's not going to hear their prayers. Go Google that as well. It's just crazy. So Human Development Index, which is HDI, measures life expectancy, education, and income. Western countries dominate top ranks due to universal health care, education, and wealth. Islam's health development varies. Gulf states high, probably because they've got a little more wealth. Because of the oil, but conflict zones, the education and the health and all of this is low, obviously, because there's conflict, there's war, there's problems. Overall, Islamic averages trail Westerns due to inadequately and excessive gaps. So here's a map. So look at your map here. So you're going to have your high IQs all in the blues and the darker colors. And look at this. Look at this. These are countries. Let's see if I can get this a little bigger so y'all can see. It's even hard for me to see. I guess I should have found a better map. These are all these countries in the continent of Africa that have low IQ. They have poor health care, poor education, poor wealth, and they're Islamic, and they're marrying their cousins. So then you have a high risk of health problems, mental problems, birth defects, low IQ from marrying your cousins. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we're going to conclude because this could continue to go on and on and on. If I have left anything out or if there's anything else you'd like to go over, let me know in the comments on all the stuff we've discussed. As far as the Islamic dilemma and things of that nature, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And hit that like button because YouTube doesn't like what I talk about because YouTube is run by a bunch of libtards and it's just facts and they're not going to get me in that algorithm. So be sure to like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing. If you don't, that's fine. Then don't if you made it to the end of the show. But the learning never stops. I'm learning every day. And stay tuned. I'm going to work on another show, which is going to deal with more news and coverage and learning too, because we're going to learn as we go. And thank you for joining me. And never, ever, ever be